Jesus certainly wasn't a pacifist. And if you go to the book of Revelation and you really get to know who the Lord is, he's definitely not an anti war pacifist at all.
Are we talking about the same Jesus? What are you talking about? Jesus wasn't a pacifist? What? We have a video coming out on my Owen Morgan Telltale YouTube channel about the book of Revelation, what it meant, what it actually meant. But let me just tell you what it meant. Some translations of the book of Revelation translated the number of the beast as 666. Others translated it as 616. It's just different manuscripts. Now, the reason for that is because the book of Revelation was written as a certain genre. You know, today we have sci-fi or fantasy or romance or comedy or whatever. Back then they had apocalyptic genre. And they used to write in apocalyptic genre to avoid the consequences of criticizing people who would do something about it if they didn't want to be criticized, you know. For example, Nero, a.k.a. Caesar Neron, I believe was his name. Let me just double check that. Yeah, he was the Roman emperor. His name was Caesar Neron. Nero, Claudius, Caesar, Augustus, Germanicus. Wow, that's one hell of a name. Anyways, he's got a whole bunch of stuff. He's well known for persecuting Christians of the time. And the book of Revelation was written in apocalyptic genre as a way to criticize Nero for what he was doing to Christians without actually naming him. So the people of the time, the writer of the book of Revelation, did a little gematria. I don't know if you've heard of this. It's this thing where you take the first letter and it equals 1, second letter equals 2, third letter equals 3. So in the Greek alphabet, for example, you got alpha, beta, gamma. I don't remember the order, but that's 1, 2, 3, all the way down the line, right? Well, with a gematria, you take all of the letters and you add them up, and you get a final number. Now, if you do that with the name of Caesar, you get 666, interestingly enough, if you do it with the Greek letters. If you do that with Neron, his full name, Caesar Neron, you get 666. If you do it with his nickname, Nero, you get 616. And that is why we ended up with two different numbers that were considered to be marks of the beast. The book of Revelation was about Nero persecuting Christians. It was never about Jesus. It was never about the eternal serpent that was throwing a wormwood and Armageddon, blah, 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 all that other stuff. It was never about any of that. It was about the fact that Christians were being persecuted by Nero in that time, in that moment. That's why it was written. And it shouldn't have made the cut to get into the Bible. As a matter of fact, it almost didn't. But I think the Catholic Church eventually chose to put the book of Revelation into the Bible, despite the fact that it really doesn't belong. So anyways, any mention of Jesus in the book of Revelation is very obviously going to have him being aggressive, a character trait that he didn't display in any way in the earliest writings that we have of him. He was a super peaceful dude all the way through. They probably portrayed him as being violent, if it even did, in the book of Revelation, because he was protecting his people, the Christians. He wanted to protect them, you know. It's all part of the apocalyptic story that was being told. But you get people like Johnny Enlow on the left, QAnon conspiracy theorists, famed QAnon conspiracy theorists, one of the highest up that you can find, and Henry and Amanda Hastings on the right here. You get people like this coming up with justifications and explanations and reasoning for why they believe that Jesus wanted more violence rather than being peaceful as he actually was in the gospel accounts.
Jesus certainly wasn't a pacifist.
Yes, he was.
And if you go to the book of Revelation and you really get to know who the Lord is, he's definitely not an anti-war pacifist.
Yes, he is. He's cherry-picking examples in the Bible of places where he believes that Jesus was more violent than he actually was. The book of Revelation was never intended, really, to be a religious text. It was only ever intended to be a defense of Christians who were being persecuted at the time by Nero. That's all. But okay, find your cherry-picked reasons for thinking Jesus was violent, I suppose. And you got Johnny Enlow over here smiling, just cheesing away. Biggest smile you can fit on that face.
Quick interjection. I won't take long. I just wanted to tell you guys, YouTube's algorithm operates off of a few factors. Watch time, whether or not you subscribe, and whether or not you like something. So if you really want to help my channel, I would appreciate it if you guys watch the video to the end. If you don't watch it to the end, just watch a little bit longer than you would have otherwise. I would appreciate that very much. All right, let's get back to the video.
Get to know who the Lord is. He's definitely not an anti-war pacifist at all.
He is actually. He's an extremely anti-war pacifist. Jesus was in the gospel accounts. And Johnny Enlow knows that. But like I said, they'll look for any reason they can find to turn Jesus into whatever they want him to be in that moment. They want him to be a pacifist, they'll find the verses that portray him that way. They want him to be this warmonger, they'll find the verses for it. That wasn't the only part of the conversation. Let's listen to the entire conversation that they had together.
Jesus certainly wasn't a pacifist.
Yes, he was.
And if you go to the book of Revelation and you really get to know who the Lord is,
that is not how you get to know the Lord.
He's definitely not an anti-war pacifist.
Yes, he is.
At all. And if you want to go to the Old Covenant and see how men moved and operated and things, there were definite enemies. I mean, there were...
Wait, why would the Old Covenant? So I assume he's talking about like the Old Testament? Is that what he means? The Old Testament? I assume that's what he's talking about when he says Old Covenant. Yeah, the Old Testament was like violent and ugly and disturbing and horrific, and there was a ton of genocide in there. Like, do you really want to repeat any of that? Go on.
There were definite enemies. I mean, there were ites in the land, which Johnny refers to, and there were Philistines in the land. And
yeah, he is talking about the Old Testament. And yeah, God committed some genocides on some people. Absolutely.
You know, they were people and they were enemies. And men had to go up when freedom was threatened by them, and to overtake and destroy those who would threaten freedom. When we have elections where people have not...
Oh boy, this dude's tying it back to modern day. So he's saying in the Old Testament, if something they loved was threatened, they would bash its head in with a rock, basically, is what he's describing, right? Now, when we have elections, he says, okay, go on.
Elections where people have not been legally or lawfully elected.
Okay, well, Biden was legally and lawfully elected, but go on.
Legally or lawfully elected, we have domestic enemies in office, and our Constitution gives us the authority to remove them. And so this is an amazing time, and we are coming to that valley of Elah where David had to take those 5 stones. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I know as we walk by the Spirit and we're sensitive to the Spirit's leads in this country, that we're heading to a concord in the natural, just like there was a Lexington and Concord in the American Revolution.
Okay, so basically what he's saying, holy Christ on a cracker, he's basically saying he believes that he has complete justification according to the Bible and the U.S. Constitution to do something about Biden. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. He believes that everybody should get together and do something about it. Now, there's no chance of anybody getting anywhere near Biden, I don't believe. I'm sure plenty of Trump nut cases have already tried and failed miserably every single time. But he's riling up a group of people right now. This Henry Hastings, I don't actually know this guy, but he has an audience. Johnny Enlow certainly has an audience of hundreds of thousands, nay, millions maybe. He's got a mega church. And he's talking to Henry Hastings, who is endorsing violence against who he believes to be his political and thus seemingly religious enemies. This is insane. You want to talk about insane, though. If you don't know Johnny Enlow, boy, let me introduce you to this guy. This is from August 21st, I believe, late August 2023. And they have the mother of all complaints here. They feel like they're being targeted and taken advantage of here, and they're just upset. So let's listen to their complaints here. This is Johnny Enlow on the right, QAnon extremist, believer that Trump is like the Messiah. And then we've got Steve Schultz on the left, who runs this pretty big platform. Really big, actually. As big as mine, at least. Bigger, even. I think he had 600,000 subbies at one point. Steve Schultz did. And he gets people on like Johnny Enlow all the time to talk about, to prophesy, quote unquote. Amanda Grace, Hank Kunneman. I think he's even had Kenneth Copeland on. He's certainly had Eric Trump on a couple of times, I think. So anyways, listen to what they have to say here. This is late August 2023.
And that one of the things that was interesting is when we got blasted out or cut off, whatever words you use, and we lost 600,000.
Right. So he was on YouTube. He had a YouTube channel with according to him, 600,000 subbies. I can't verify that. I don't remember.
Or cut off, whatever words you use, and we lost 600,000.
I would just call it banned.
Realize that they lost probably the same amount. The YouTube probably lost 600, or if it wasn't 600,000, they lost 400,000. They were more than willing to.
Well, that's interesting that he brings that up. Being a YouTuber myself, I know a little bit about how this stuff works, and I can tell you that those 600,000 subscribers that you had there, they were not on YouTube solely to watch you. And when you left the platform, they didn't leave with you. There's something called the attention economy. Their attention was drawn to something new, something different. These people were probably, I'd be willing to bet, removed from YouTube for saying some absolutely psychotic. Dude, these people are unglued from reality. Hang on, let me find something really crazy from these guys. All right, I was looking for some example of Johnny Enlow saying something really, really crazy, or Steve Schultz or something, but you know what? I will take Johnny Enlow being berated mercilessly by Michael Flynn for talking about QAnon.
You were essentially revealed to us by Q, trust the plan, Patriots in control. It was over before it began. There was continual references to you. Who knows where the bodies are buried? These
are all quotes from QAnon.
And then, but what I do hear from you is no one's coming to rescue you. If anything, I'd even written in my notes, if anything, a denial that there is Q and all, and I'm fine. I don't want you to, that's not the question. You can answer.
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know if we're live. Are we live?
We're live. Yeah, we're live.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to just tell you, I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, I know what this whole Q thing is. I think it's just sheer nonsense.
Okay, well,
it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. I mean, you see all the idiocy all over the internet, and these people that think that there's some white knight coming. There's no.
That's kind of sad. I mean, I don't take pleasure in anybody berating anybody else. I mean, he just called him an idiot, basically, right? He called Johnny Enlow an idiot for being a QAnoner, but Johnny Enlow said some really crazy stuff on this show. Oh my God. Oh, here's a good one. This one is from, 2022? This is late August 2022. Check this one out.
There's already been a decertification. There's an understanding, a decertifying of the 2020 election. I tell you one.
Now, so 2.5 years later, remember, Biden was inaugurated January 20th, 2020. This clip came out late August 2022, okay? 2.5 years later. I mean, we are like way past that at this point, and this dude still believes this nonsense.
100% is happened in heaven. And I'm saying as well, from the very beginning, people keep asking when Trump's coming back. And I said,
he's not coming back.
He never left. He has been president. He has not stopped being president. He is legally the president of the United States of America. He is spiritually authorized from heaven to be so, which is the bigger deal. And so there's going to be proof of that.
Great. Any minute now, right? Any 5 minutes. Let's see. How far past this are we? Pretty far. And we're not seeing any evidence of what he's saying. Not a lick of evidence.
You want the proof of it?
Yes, I do. Yes, that's all I need. You got a believer in me if you just show me the proof. I just need evidence.
There's going to be proof of that. You want the proof of it? There is strategy and optics why he's not in the seat where actor Biden is.
actor Biden.
And I will say again, that's not the real Biden. And so that's for another conversation.
Oh boy. Let's have that conversation now. Sadly, he didn't have that conversation now. He believes Biden's a clone. That's the bottom line. I'm just trying to show you some of the conspiracy theories that this guy likes to engage in. I mean, he's done a ton of like Super Bowl election conspiracies, claimed to have watched like the playoffs or, you know, his state college football games, and claimed that God was sending him secret messages through those. I mean, there's a ton of stuff from this guy. He's got all kinds of crazy stuff. I mean, we're setting aside the clip that I watched not too long ago in another video. The last video I did on Enloe, where in 2019 he said God is just going to he's going to reinstate Trump as president in 2020. We don't even have to go out and vote. He's just going to be the president. So stay home if you want. Doesn't matter. Takes an apple bag on somebody to say something like that, right?
Remember me saying that before. The 624, the Roe v. Wade day was a real spiritual day for St. Luciferian 666, because 06 is 6 total, 24 is a 6 total, and the 2022 is 6 total. And so
So June 6th, 2022. And he somehow worked that number to be 666 because June 6th, 6, and then you take the 3 2s and add them together to get 6. Sheer, unadulterated insanity.
The thing about that is speaking to what our God is doing.
Anyways, yeah, so that's Johnny Enloe, if you are unfamiliar. And these guys are saying, like Steve Schultz and Johnny Enloe right now, he should really have a mustache and a beard. It just does not look right if he doesn't. There's something not right here. I'm sorry. Anyway, he's just one of those people you look at him and you can tell a beard and mustache belong on his face, and the fact that it isn't there is wrong. I don't know that I've even seen the dude with a beard and mustache. I just know it's wrong. He doesn't have it. That's neither here nor there. So these people are saying the 600,000 supposed YouTube whatever, like subbies that they had, were only on the platform for them. And when YouTube removed them, just like that, those 600,000 people disappeared from YouTube permanently. Okay, go on.
And you know that one of the things that was interesting is when we got blasted out or cut off, whatever words you use, and we lost 600,000, you realize that they lost probably the same amount. That YouTube probably lost 600, or if it wasn't 600,000, they lost 400,000.
Wait. Okay, I'm confused. Is 600,000 how much money you made on YouTube, or is it the number of subbies that you had? I'm really not understanding what he's talking about here, because the number of subbies does not represent how much money you have made or that you make or whatever. It has nothing to do with it. Those two things are literally unconnected in every way. I have no clue what this dude's talking about. Is he saying that he made $600,000 from YouTube? Does he think that money just disappeared from YouTube's pocket once he left the platform?
YouTube probably lost 600, or if it wasn't 600,000, they lost 400,000. They were more than willing to lose, especially over a number of years, millions and millions of dollars over a number of years.
I got some bad news for you there, bud. When you were banned from YouTube, all of your viewers went somewhere else on YouTube. They continued watching. YouTube continued making that money. It's just that you weren't the one making any money. See how that works? That's why YouTube doesn't care if they ban somebody or not. Of course, they don't want to ban people all willy-nilly and for no reason. That would be really, really bad for their image and for a whole bunch of stuff. Their economic growth and everything else. But banning people who claim some of the crazy stuff we've heard Johnny Enloe claim, yeah, I don't blame YouTube at all. You know why? If YouTube didn't ban people who say some of the stuff we've heard these people say, I'm going to pull something else up and show you. Their advertisers wouldn't want anything to do with them. YouTube's advertisers would dry up like that. And finding advertisers in the first place for social media networks is difficult. It's a challenge. Especially building trust with those advertisers is a challenge. It's something that Twitter worked to establish, that trust, with advertisers for years, nay, decades even. And Elon Musk comes in, unbans everybody, throws a wrench into everything, and says, "F it all, I don't even care," and that's it. Half the advertisers or more, 3/4 of the advertisers disappeared overnight. Nobody wants anything to do with that. People left the platform like mad. Now it's called X.com. It's really sad. It was a cultural touchstone. Anyways, the point is, if YouTube didn't get rid of these guys, we might have ended up with, there would be fewer advertisers on YouTube. That's really the issue here. That's what YouTube really cares about, the advertisers. They don't care about your, especially when you say absolutely unhinged like this right here. This is Johnny Enlow talking about a message God gave him, a vision he got from God in 2019, early December 2019.
He is going to save you from things you don't know you need to be saved from yet.
Talking about Donald Trump.
And then the Lord progressively began to speak regarding that. And he said, this time in the presidency is going to be a hinge of the ages. And he knows.
So we're going to go from BC, before Christ, and AD, Anno Domini, or after death, year of our Lord, whatever you want to call it. A Jesus-based system is the bottom line. We're going to go from a Jesus-based system to a Trump-based system. This is the insane these people said.
As before Trump and after Trump, because of the way I'm going to use him. I'm using him as a Trump card, but I'm the Trump card player.
Really? We're going from BC and AD, a Jesus-based system, to BT and AT. That's how important Trump is, apparently, in this dude's head.
And so your nation will be known as before Trump and after Trump. And he said the nations will be known as before Trump, after Trump. And the Lord, it was like, he said, I'm really not interested in your all's vote this time. I'm doing it. I usually give you all that option. This time I'm not. This is a rescue operation from heaven. This is a moment of the ages. This will go down. This time period will go down as a before and after AD, but BC, AD, depending on what terminology you use now.
So he's saying that they're switching to a Trump-based system. He's conflating Donald Trump with Jesus. He's comparing the two. He's saying Trump is just as important as Jesus was. And as a matter of fact, I happen to know that this guy believes that that Trump is the Messiah. And he spouts off all kinds of election conspiracies, like constantly. So it does not surprise me that YouTube, 86'd him, got rid of him, didn't want anything to do with that because they were bad for advertising. They looked terrible. They were lying on camera nonstop, saying absolutely unhinged nonstop. I mean, the stuff that really got him was probably the QAnon stuff, I would say. YouTube did not take kindly to QAnon conspiracy theories for a long, long time. The point is, these people think way too much of themselves, okay? It was a business decision. Simple as that. So what do they say it was if it wasn't a business decision?
More than willing to lose, especially over a number of years, millions and millions of dollars over a number of years, rather than us say something that they didn't want us to say. That tells you
it wasn't about something, they didn't want you to say. It's stuff that you were saying that was not advertiser friendly, first of all. You were dragging the platform down. You were making it a more scummy place to be, a more whole place to be, if you will. I don't know how else to say it. And people didn't want that. YouTube didn't want that. And it's their platform. Advertisers didn't want that. And ultimately, YouTube answers to the advertisers. They're the boss. So YouTube regulated who was allowed to talk about this stuff and that stuff and whatever else. I feel like maybe we should be a little bit more open. We should be allowed to say a little more than we, say right now on social media networks. But they're private companies. What are you going to do, man? There is an opening right now where a vacuum, if you will, where X or Twitter used to exist and no longer exists in that hole. Twitter fell apart. People didn't want anything to do with it anymore. They're leaving it like mad. And now there's a vacuum, like a vacuum that could be filled by anybody. Threads is trying to fill it. Blue Sky is trying to fill it. Ton of companies that are stepping in and making better versions of Twitter. Elon Musk lit $43 billion on fire, basically. Anyway, the point is, private companies can make decisions for their own companies. That's just what it is. I don't like what Elon Musk did to Twitter. You don't like what YouTube is doing for their advertisers. That's just what it is, man. I'm sorry.
Then us say something that they didn't want us to say. That tells you YouTube was never a business. They were a deep state operation. Otherwise,
Oh, so now it's a conspiracy theory. Okay. They can't just leave it at, I disagree with this decision. It has to turn into this big grand conspiracy where they're setting everything up to blah, 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 whatever, to try to stifle their speech and hide what they're saying. It's absurd, honestly. And did you notice that these people are still on Facebook? Like right now, the Elijah List is on Facebook. And of course, they have their own website, ElijahList.com. Facebook never removed them. They just miffed YouTube did, I guess.
they would have never made themselves lose, millions of dollars over time. So it was
YouTube didn't lose all that money over time. YouTube was still making money from all of those viewers. They just weren't viewing your stuff. That's the difference.
very instructive to me because I go, oh, this wasn't about business at all, was it?
Yes, it was about business. That's exactly what it was about. How did you arrive at conspiracy theory from that? This is how their brains work. I'm telling you. Their brains automatically jump to conspiracy mode. Every time. It's always a conspiracy. There is no logical explanation for anything. It's always conspiracy. Anyway, these people are absurd on every level, but oh my God, dude, I love listening to their absurdity. It is so entertaining. Let me know what you think about it in the comments.